Hey guys, this is Scott and Ariane with the Backpacker TV. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for watching. Today, I'm out backpacking and I'm gonna show you how to get a fire started in the wettest of wet conditions. I'm actually gonna light the fire in water. I'm also gonna do a gear review on the latest kindling that I found to help get that going, and I found it at an RV show, right? Go figure. Then I'm gonna show you what happens if you get lost while you're day hiking or backpacking, and what to carry with you at all times so you can build a shelter, and by the way, get that shelter up near 90 degrees. You know, one of the things I learned when I took a wilderness survival class was that things go wrong in the backcountry, and it's not really about, you know, being so unprepared. It's just about, you know, not planning ahead for the just in case. And so a little bag like this with some paint tarp, a Mylar blanket, some Benadryl, a fire starter, a good way to light a fire, that could mean all the difference. So after I took that class, I didn't put everything in my backpack anymore, because Ariane and I, we do a lot of day hiking also. And so I want to make sure that if something happens, like someone sprains an ankle, you can't walk back to the trailhead, so you know, we're gonna have to spend the night in the woods. We have at least a better than average chance to be warm that night in case it rains or gets cold. And that's really the point of this video, is to just kind of think a little bit different and ask you, do you put everything in your backpack? And what if you lose your backpack? What if you lose your day pack? You know, what if you just get kind of turned around and your stuff's gone? There are two things I never, ever put in my backpack, no matter what. And I always carry with me if I go on a day hike. Always. Never fails. I don't care if I'm going a mile, I don't care if I'm going 10 miles, it makes no difference. Everything I need to survive a night in the backcountry or in the woods is in a small bag. I always carry this on my belt. I never go home without it. Everything I need to survive a night of cold, rain, wind is in this bag. The other thing I always carry is a straight edge knife. Always. Now, I rarely use this thing, ever. Sometimes I use it to cut rope off trees. I've cut it, you know, basically to cut rope most of the time or fix gear. But I always carry it, and I'm going to show you why a straight edge knife, a sharp straight edge knife, is going to save your life if you ever get lost. Okay, the very first piece of gear I always carry, like in a fanny pack or on my belt, is plastic paint tarp. It's 2 millimeters thick, and you can buy it at any Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. Now, I always tell you guys to multi-use your gear. Multi-use your gear. This paint tarp is my floor for when I sleep under a tarp when we go backpacking. So this is what we sleep on. So instead of buying a ground cloth, I always bring a 2 millimeter paint tarp, and I'm going to show you why that is so important. Now, this never goes in my backpack. It always goes in my emergency pack on my belt. The other piece of gear that's super important, it's part of the 10 essentials, it's an emergency blanket. So Mylar blanket, you've seen these things around. You can buy these for as cheap as $1 at Walmart, but it's so important. But I'm not going to use it as an emergency blanket. I'm going to use it to get my shelter up to 90 degrees. Okay, so how do you build a shelter? Where do you start? How do you start? So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring your straight edge knife, right? And you're going to look for young sapling trees. Young sapling trees. Now, yeah, we're going to cut them. Now, you might say, oh my God, that's terrible, leaving no trace practice. Well, if you're lost and you got to save your butt, it's not about leaving no trace, it's about leaving a trace so people can find you. It's also about saving your life, especially even if it's just one night. So this would be a young sapling tree. You can see how it bends. The very first thing you do is you bend this as sharp as you can, and you cut straight down right on the bend. After you cut your tree, all you're doing is making a nice arc with it. That's all you're doing. You're just sticking in the ground and making an arc or an arch, and we're going to make about 10 of these. Before you actually start building your shelter, collect as many leaves as you can, especially before it rains. So leaves, pine is really good. If you're in a pine forest, collect as much pine needles as you can. The other thing, if you see any kind of, you know, like cattail stalks are really super good if they're around you. Otherwise, you want to collect about as many leaves as they are to your waist, because leaves are going to compress, but they're also going to act as insulation and your air mattress. The key to this whole thing is just doing the best you can. Now, you know, I'm not a bushcrafter. I've taken several wilderness survival classes, but at this point, you're only trying to do the best you can to get you through one night. This is not a long-term solution by any stretch of the imagination, because, you know, you're probably scared, you might be wet, you might be cold. So you look for young saplings, and all you're doing is weaving them in and out. And this is how it's going to look. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't look much like a shelter at all. You're basically just taking 4 large saplings, cutting them, you're making them arch, and then the rest you can kind of find on the ground, and you're weaving in and out. This is the one time you're not looking for wood, you know, like dry wood. You're looking for young wood that can bend. And so, but I'm going to transform this into a tent, and you're going to see the big difference. And this is why I bring the emergency blanket or the Mylar blanket and my paint tarp. Here is you want to have everything as tight as you can staked down to the ground. So you can just use regular sticks to do that, but you want it tight. The reason you want it tight is because your fire is going to be right in front of your shelter. I mean right here. Now you're thinking you're going to burn down your shelter. No, not really. So what happens is that you're actually creating kind of like a greenhouse effect. With the Mylar that is above you, underneath the paint tarp, you are actually bringing in heat. The heat is actually expanding in your shelter. On a 30-degree night, you can get this shelter inside 90 degrees. I've done it. And in fact, it was so hot, I had to get out of the shelter and sleep outside. But yes, you can get it. This is the technology that is affordable to you if you know how to do it. Now, just building a shelter like this, yeah, it's pretty crude. I mean, it's not luxury at all. You're going to be sleeping on these leaves, and you need a lot more leaves, by the way. But if you're sleeping on pine needles or leaves, this shelter right here, it's going to keep you dry. It's going to keep you warm. And that's all you're going to need to get through the night to find your way back home the next day. One of the other things I carry in my little emergency bag is a fire starter. So that's really super important, because when you're out there, you're going to have to start a fire if things go wrong, right? So I used to carry a cotton ball soaked in Vaseline. Now, to me, that's tried and true, because that thing can get soaking wet and it will still light a fire. But recently, I ran across a product called Quickfire. And I found this Quickfire product at an RV show. And it's 100% waterproof. It is non-toxic, and it's got a burn time of 10 minutes, and they're really small. They're very tiny. They come in, you can buy them in a bag of 10. They're not that expensive. I'm gonna put the link to where you can buy these right underneath the video. You can take a look, but I'm gonna show you how cool these things are because I'm gonna light this thing in the creek. The cool thing about these is that you can light them and then put them out and then light them again, put them out and then light them again and put them out. So if it's pouring rain and you need to get a fire going, these are so lightweight and they're so reusable. I'm probably gonna put these in my backpack from now on. I mean, these are a tried and true fire starter. You don't have to come up with any gimmicks like lint, which doesn't work, by the way, because lint gets wet, it's never gonna work. So I really like this product. Quickfire, the nice thing about this product is that, you know, if you can find the right kind of wood to burn in when it's raining outside, which is, you know, all around you all the time, this is a really good way to get your fire going. Because of the 10-minute burn time, and it's a big flame, you could see it, is that it's really gonna kind of dry out that small kindling wood to get that fire going. And you know, this could be a game changer out there. So if you're a backpacker and you want a really cool way to get a fire going, this is super lightweight. It's good for the environment, it's waterproof, and it's got a 10-minute burn time. So check these out. Quickfire starters. I bought these at the RV show, so, you know, thank you RV World for this. A lot of RVers use it to like start their campfires, or when they're going to cook outside, you can drop it in your coals and start your grill. So it's got a lot of purposes to it, and I love gear that you can multi-purpose.